Seeing lots of people popping in. Hi, everybody.
Hi, Carolyn.
Gosh, it's Emily. Hey, Cordelia. It's so nice to see you. All right. I am waiting. Amy Ruby, let me know when you're here and I'll find you and make you the co-host.
Hi, Carolyn.
Hi, Amber. Nice to see you.
Look at all the bright, shiny faces. Emily, it's good to see you.
Yeah.
Arla, Melissa.
Yeah, lots of.
Lovely to see you. Linnell, I finally get to see what you look like, Linnell.
That's right. Oh, I see Farnaz, Aaron, Tony. Awesome. Hey, Kathy. John Trethaway. This is great. We're going to give it just a couple of minutes, like till 2:32. I love whoever Karen is who has like the Wonder Woman symbol, like as her picture, like her video. You go. Amy Ruby, are you here? Oh,
I don't see her yet, Carolyn.
I don't see her yet either. All right. This is awesome.
There she is. There's Amy.
I'm here.
All right, Amy Ruby, I am looking for your name. There you are. I will make you the co-host.
All right.
So Amy, I said we would give it till like 2:31 or 2:32 just to kind of let everyone hop on. I'm excited to be here. Some of you may know this, some of you may not. I am not in my home in Los Angeles. I am coming to you live from the Bronx, from New York, from my parents' house in Riverdale, their apartment. So this is like, these are not my furnishings, in case you're wondering, because, you know, there's certainly nothing wrong with them, but they're not totally me, but that's okay. Cause it's all good. It's all good in the Bronx.
But that's also part of the beauty of this profession is you all are experiencing, right? Like we can work from anywhere.
Right. That's exactly right. Right. I could be here and be doing what I need to do here and then get to serve all of you live from New York. Now I'm like in the East Coast vibe, right?
And,
Not
and
like,
with a better air quality index.
yeah, not like you West Coasters all like waking up, 3 hours behind us. We're already getting stuff done, making it happen. All right. Amy, are we good? Are we recording?
We are recording.
Okay. Would you like to kind of just do your thing?
Sure, I'm going to do my thing. So hi, everybody. I'm Amy Ruby. I'm an executive coach and also the director of the CFJ Coaching Success School. So I want to officially welcome you to Welcome to Let's Get Back to Work webinar with Carolyn Freyer-Jones. And for some of you, Carolyn did a little of her own introduction, introducing her energy into the room, but some of you know Carolyn and some of you don't, so I'm just going to do a brief introduction here. Carolyn's been a full-time professional coach for almost over 20 years. She started when she was 12, just saying. She's a longtime devotee and coachee of Steve Chandler, who we all call in the coaching world as the godfather of coaching. All the Carolyn's teachings have come from Steve, and he's an amazing individual and also one of our guest faculty members at the CFJ Coaching Success School. Carolyn is the founder of the CFJ Coaching Success School, and so we're just going to get right into it because we got to get back to work. So here you go. Here's Carolyn.
Thank you, Amy. I appreciate it. I'm going to do a brief introduction. So some of you know this. For the school, we have 3 guest faculty, but we also have another primary faculty member who is with me and with us in everything. Her name is Amber Chris. She has been a coach. Gosh, I don't know, Amber, you're going to have to fill me in on the years because sometimes I forget. She started when she was like 9. And That's why she looks so good. But Amber comes from the world of theater and then ended up at the University of Santa Monica, and she earned her master's degree in spiritual psychology. That's how Amber and I and Amy know each other. And that's where I got into contact with Steve Chandler. And Amber left the world of theater and entered the world of professional coaching. And that is where she met my business partner and one of my best friends, Michelle Bauman, and Michelle became her coach. Many of you know about Michelle. I've shared Michelle's writings with coaches, and I talk a lot about Michelle and I in my work. Michelle passed away from a breast cancer diagnosis almost 5 years ago, which is hard to believe. But her teachings and her words live on through me and through anybody who knew Michelle, because that's the kind of person she was. But Amber, not only just a great coach of people, Amber really built a reputation for herself, shall we say, coaching coaches and helping them learn how to make money. So she learned how to make money as a coach, and then she started helping coaches learn how to make money as a coach. And she is fantastic in every way. I'm so excited. We are just getting started on another year of the CFJ Coaching Success School. The Facebook page just opened up today for the school. People are already on there like, hey, I have a question, right? So Amber, do you want to say anything just to say hello? And
Sure. I haven't done one of these in a long time. So first of all, it's really lovely to see everyone's faces. I feel like, oh, we're in community again, which I appreciate. And I just have to say, I love this profession. I can share a little bit of my journey maybe another time, but what I would say is I was not very gifted at making money as a coach. I was definitely the one that was like, I'll just give you a discount, or you don't need to pay me. You can pay me 3 months from now. We'll go ahead and start work. Like, I was so afraid of the money conversation and what the fee was. And, oh my God, they're paying me, so I have to make sure they get the thing that they want. And it was through what I will say, which is the beautiful thing about this profession, is that everything is learnable. I did not know. And then I did the uncomfortable work of learning. And, I went from $44,000 in credit card debt because I was doing so well in my business when I first began, to then earning multiple six figures within a shorter, I think a short period of time, within like a year and a half. And it truly was from really slowing down and applying everything that we teach in the school, things that you're going to hear on this webinar today. And I always say, like, if I can do it, I think anybody can do it. I mean, I was such a failure at first and perceived failure, right? There is no such thing as failure, but it was showing me the way that you're doing this is not working. Maybe get some help. So here we are.
good. Glad you're here. And I want to prove to you, you all know I'm on the East Coast, right? Because I got some Dunkin' Donuts coffee. Like, come on. Like, there we go. Doing the Dunkin' Donuts.
California.
Yeah, but that's not really, that's like late to the game. Late to the game, right? If you're really like East Coast, So I want to start by, first of all, setting up a couple of quick guidelines. Number one, my request is that you turn your camera on. I don't care if you look crappy in your pandemic wear, right? And I'm asking because it just brings us more present, right? When coaches are in the school, it's a requirement, right? But I'm just going to make a request, a strong request, because of course, I don't want to force anyone. There may be some reason you don't have your camera on. The other thing is chat room. So you can absolutely post a question in the chat room. My request is that there isn't a lot of like chatting in the chat room. I just participated on a call, I don't know, like 2 weeks ago, I was on a call with a bunch of coaches, and the coaches were so busy, like, that's amazing, amen, you're amazing. I couldn't even focus on the person leading. So I'm a fan of, like, you got a question, post it in the chat. I would love to get to it, but that you don't all start engaging with each other. Because my job is to deliver value and usefulness to you. And that's Amber's job and Amy's job. We want you to walk away being like, okay, I'm ready for my last 4 months, right, of 2020. So those are the guidelines. It is recorded. So if you have to hop off, it's fine. You will get the recording. And what I would like to do is just start with a little context setting, right? Because here we are, we're in September of 2020. There is a lot of noise in the world right now, right? Like, wow, I don't know how many of you are even, some of you have gone on very strict news diets, and I really support you in that. And some of you are full on, like, the phone is like everywhere near that you, and like you keep scrolling to see what is happening out there and what that means for you. And we could spend this whole 90 minutes talking about the usefulness of that, right? Like, is that helpful? Is it not helpful? I'm going to be a voice for really managing that right now, because I don't think we can serve people at our best if we're too consumed by what's happening out there. I'm not saying this is not a diminishment of what's happening, right? Like, I'm not saying turn it off. I'm not saying don't participate. I'm not saying like I'm doing my own like inner social justice work. I'm getting more awake to things I have not been awake to, and I'm all for it. And it's like we can get really consumed by that and then not be like out there serving. So today is about, let's get back to work. So I want to ask a question, and I'm going to ask you to raise your hand because this will help us. I want, by a show of hands, if you've been less active, less taking action in your business as a coach, as a result of the pandemic, as a result of all the other things happening in the news, social unrest, fires, etc. Raise your hand and hold it up for a minute. If you've been less active in your business and you would say, yeah, it's because of what I'm seeing out there. That's slowing me down. It's creating maybe like reluctance to really be out there. So raise your hand. Okay. All right. So it looks like moderate, medium, I would say. Would you agree, Amber?
Yeah, probably.
Okay. Now I'm going to ask a different question. How many of you have just been less active in your business because you've been less active in your business from way before the pandemic? Like, the pandemic is a non-issue, nor is so like how many of you might be using the pandemic and social justice and all those other things of like, oh, I can't possibly reach out to people or do this now. Show me your hands. Bravo, by the way, on honesty, right? Because this is how you're going to get the most value. Excellent. Excellent. All right. So here's the third question. How many of you, show of hands, are like, I am all in. I am active. I am in my business. I am participating. I'm there. Raise your hand if you're all in.
Awesome.
All right. Now, is there a question I'm missing? Because I see some people who didn't raise their hand for anything. And I'm trying to figure out like, is there something I missed? And if I did, put it in the chat. Be like, well, you didn't cover, I don't know. Like I'm above average in my business right now than I've ever been. Or like if there's something else. Okay, we got one. Who wants to be all in but doesn't know what to do? Nice. Okay, I get that. Let's see. Working at another job, toddler at home. I know there's a couple of those in there, just starting and figuring it out. Perfect. Okay. Love it. Okay.
There's probably some newer coaches here.
Yeah.
They're just learning.
That's super helpful. Busier than before. I'm new, getting my legs under me. Yeah. Okay. I appreciate that. Yep. Awesome. Couldn't find the raise the hand button at the right time. Okay. That counts. So that's good. All right. I love started a podcast. Okay. Okay. All right. So that's great. So today, what you're going to get to do, it's like from wherever you are, whether you're brand new and you're like, I'm all in, but I don't know what to do. Or it's like, I've been in, but there's really clear room for me to like kick it up a notch. We're going to just slow it way down and talk about the things that we know that create more business and brings you clients, right? Like the thing here, right? We're here today to talk about how do you get clients in a way that's effective, in a way that's heart-centered, in a way that you can lean into and feel good about, even if it feels messy and uncomfortable, okay? So did you notice those words I just said? So messy and uncomfortable is part of this process, especially especially at the beginning, maybe even midway. And sometimes even now I have moments where I feel messy or uncomfortable. So I don't want anyone to be like, oh, but when I hit 15 or 20 years, Carolyn, I'll never feel messy and uncomfortable. That's not my experience. I like it. So just so you know, I'm a fan of messy and uncomfortable. Like, I think if it's not sort of like, if I'm not on my edge ever, if I'm not a little bit like, oh God, um, it's not as exciting. For me, some of the most exciting time was at the beginning when Michelle and I were just getting our sea legs under us, to use someone's word. And we were like, wait, I don't know what we're doing. And we would literally, so I was working with Steve Chandler as my coach. Michelle came into my life. She decided to hire him. She decided she no longer wanted to be a lawyer, that she wanted to become a professional coach. And so we created an agreement with him that he would coach us individually and together. We would probably email him easy 25 times a day at first. This person said this. Now what do I say? This person never answered my email. Now what do we do? Like, so some of you are out there going like, well, I don't know what to do. And there's a good reason you don't, because I didn't either. This is not like a profession. I mean, The Prosperous Coach is an amazing book. It's an amazing book, and it's becoming really the Bible in many ways, but it doesn't replace having someone there to help you, right? To help guide you through the, like, I don't know. I feel weird reaching out to someone on Facebook. Isn't that kind of gross? I don't want to be gross. I didn't enter this business to be gross. So I want to slow it way down. This is a business of connecting. It's a business of connecting. So if you're new and you're here and you're like, but wait a second, I didn't read the fine print. I have to reach out and connect with people? Crap. You do. Like, this is an opportunity. I really wanted to say to you. And if you're kind of like, oh, like some of us, like I think many of us who've been in the business a while, I think there was this fantasy, right? Like, I was going to hit this point where I was never going to have to reach out. They were just going to come pouring into my email, and they were going to be like, please take my money. That's not happening for me. It's not like that doesn't happen for most of the really seasoned coaches who are making like the kind of money we all want to make, including me. This is a profession. It's not a lifestyle. It's not a lifestyle, right? So in the beginning, I want to let everybody know I was easily, and Amy knows because she was my next door neighbor, I was putting in serious time. I had a full-time job. I had a part-time coaching practice. I was coaching people in my bathroom of my one-bedroom apartment. I was coaching people in my car, in the carport out back. And I was committed. I was going to grow my part-time business enough that it could be a bridge to full-time coaching. I was not someone who was going to jump without a net. I was married. I had a baby. I'm like, I don't really roll with 20 bucks in my bank account. I'm not too bad with $100. Like, that's like, ooh, Dunkin' Donuts. $100. There's so much I could do with $100, but $20, not so much. So I want to invite you all to, this is a note I want you to take, right? I want you to really put down a note, and it's in the form of a question. And the question is, how much am I connecting every day? How much am I connecting every day? Right? Because this is one of those businesses where it's easy to trick ourselves, right? Like, I'm like, oh, I sent 2 email. It's Monday. I'm good. I got a lot of other stuff going on this week. I got to go help my mom. I got my kid. I'm taking my Zoom Pilates class. I'm good, right? 2, I'm out. Like, you want to really, this is a business, especially at the beginning, you want to ask yourself, this is where radical honesty is super helpful. How much time am I really willing to put in every day? How much time am I really willing to sit at my computer and be wildly uncomfortable and not know what the hell I'm doing? And be like, crap, I don't think I know a human being. There's nobody. I have nobody. Nobody's ever liked me. Nobody's ever wanted me. Why did I even think I'd be good at this? How willing are you to sit there with those thoughts and not let them stop you? and not let them stop you, right? Because our minds are dangerous. Like I read somewhere, I forget what book it's from, but it was like, don't go down a dark hallway of your mind alone. That's what coaches are for, right? Like there are dark alleys in my mind. Ooh, not good for me to be there alone. I could really mess myself up. I could ruin a really good day just by going down some dark hallways in my mind. I'm like all of you. I could mess it up easily, right? So I want to say to you, like, this is a decision point right now. It's a decision point. How much time are you putting in daily into your growth as a coach? And I'm going to talk about, well, some of you are like, well, I want to, but what the hell do I do? We're going to talk about that. But I really want you. And what I'd love, this is, I think will help me and will help Amber, anyone who's willing in the chat to say roughly and be honest, how much time a day you're putting into your business, not making cool Instagram stories, right? Like I love Instagram, right? Like that's my new thing, but that's not going to get me a client. How many of you are actually sitting at your desk saying like, okay, who have I reached out to, or who's in my inbox right now that I haven't even thought about as a possibility? So in the chat, I want to be like, tell me 20 minutes a day, an hour, 2 hours a week. There's no bad answer. I mean, until I was full-time, I was really cutting corners. Okay. All right. All right. So we got the full range, and I so appreciate all of you. We got everything from, 5 hours a day to a few minutes, to an hour a day to 11 hours a day, go Crawford, to 3 hours a week, to 1 hour a day, right? 2 to 3 minutes a day, 10 hours a week. Okay. So do you see the range? Like, just notice that, right? Is everyone looking? You're like, wow, big range, right? Big range. So I'm going to say something, and then I'm going to let Amber talk a little bit about her early days and just how she looks at that now. If you're not spending consistent time every day right now, I would offer to you that that's a miss, especially if you're new, and especially if you're not making enough money, the kind of money you want to make. I'm not talking about, hey, I want to be 150 grand a year. I'm talking about like, hey, I haven't even yet hit 50 to 75K as a coach. I'm not even close to making that as a coach. If you're not close to making 50 to 75K, you want to really look at how much time I'm putting in daily, because that is a key. It's a critical key. Amber, why don't you talk a little bit about just, your experience with this?
I love, it was revolutionary for me and super uncomfortable when I started working with Carolyn and Michelle, and they would say, who do you know? Because my training was in, like the demographic, I want to work with women who are 25 to 32, who are X, Y, and Z, right? So what we're talking about here is exercising a different muscle. And that requires actually slowing down to be with another person, right? Not some ideal customer avatar. And by the way, there's nothing wrong with marketing. There's a place for marketing. And so for me, I went down, and I'm not saying my experience is everyone's experience, but I will say my own experience, and then working with coaches over the years, it's so easy to see what's occurring online and be like, that's the way, right? I've got to do this summit, or I've got to, I don't know, create this email list, and I've got to post to Instagram and Facebook and do my video on YouTube, and right. And what starts to happen is, or I've got to create this online program. If you don't already have an established community, you got to start by building a community. And the best way to do that is through actual connections, right? It's not about, let me try to find some stranger that has no idea who I am and then start to build that relationship. Let me first start with people that I know. It doesn't have to be your best friend. It doesn't need to be your sister or your brother, right? It can, but there are people that you consider acquaintances, right? That aren't like tight in your inner circle. Those are people that you can start with. And as you do that, as you start to stand forward in your leadership, as you start to withstand the discomfort of actually reaching out and connecting to another human, it gets easier. And then the growth can occur from there. See, I think this is just my personal opinion, take it or leave it. I think all the marketing stuff and the online programs and I feel like that's like icing on the cake. Get your cake first. Right? And what I mean by that is make the number that you need to make financially to then live the life that you want to live. And then from there, do your podcast, do your online, because it's like your funnel will, and I know that's a very online term, but it's like the way your bread and butter of your business, you will know how to make money. And so I'll just share for me, part of the reason that I landed in $44,000 in credit card debt was because I wasn't doing this. I wasn't slowing down to create connections and nurture connections and actually listen to people and be curious about what was happening in their lives. I was like blasting promotions on an email list. Right? Or I was spending time perfecting videos, right? I do like 20 takes of a video and then have to edit it and then share that. And it felt like I was being very productive in my business, right? I was doing something for my business, but my bank account was going negative. Mm. And so if that's where you are, it might be time to start to explore switching. Like I'm a fan of reward, like the reward-based system where it's like, I get to do the thing that I want to do after I do the thing that makes me really uncomfortable. So if you love making videos, or if you love sending out emails, or if you love doing some of those things, like, I don't get to do those until I've connected with another human and slowed down to find out what's happening in their world, or until I've invited someone to a conversation, because that feels so vulnerable and so uncomfortable. Because it's what Carolyn said before, the act of doing that, especially if you've been in the world of like demographics and these are the people that I want to reach, it's going to be really uncomfortable to go, okay, like who do I want to talk to? I was just having a conversation with a woman that's in the school, and I said, who would you love to coach? And she was like, I don't know, like women who struggle with their bodies. And I was like, great. Who's a woman that struggles with their body? I don't know. I was like, we're going to sit here until you come up with a name. Super uncomfortable, right? All the stuff that's in the way comes up around like, who am I to reach out? And so anyway, that would be, I think my biggest piece of advice, or my biggest learning experience around shifting from this sort of online, I'm going to do 15 things to avoid the one thing that's most effective but makes me feel most uncomfortable. So I'm going to start there.
I love that. Thank you, Amber. I'm going to talk for a few more minutes and then we're going to open it up, right? Because you're here to get coaching. Like, we want to help you do real stuff today. It's a working session, which I love. I want to say something else. So some of you, like Amber's background, kind of, right? Like she kind of went the social media marketing route. Some of you have gone no route. Like I didn't do that. Like I was more in the, I don't know, like what do I do? Right. And when Steve Chandler posed to me, well, who would you love to coach? I had to really think about that, right? Like I had people in my community, but I had never considered, oh, wait, you mean like not people who are my closest friends, but people I just know, whether it's, a parent at my kid's school or somebody I go to the gym with, or, and that was a whole new way of thinking, right? That everywhere I went, there were people to connect with. And this is where, if you're going to be in this profession, you get to learn a skill called, how do you walk around in the world as a professional self, engaging with people, but not from like, ooh, like I'm a coach, tell me about you. It's like, I want to be real, right? Like when I meet people, I'm like, I'm just curious. I'm like, oh, tell me more. How did you end up doing that? I just had a call with a guy, this was not a potential client. This is on a project, something else that's more personal to me. And I was so fascinated. I was like, and he was a lawyer, and he worked for a nonprofit against gun violence. And I was fascinated by that because he has literally paused that to create this new program called COVID for Change. It's an amazing thing. There's going to be like a national day of mourning that's going to come up, that he's planning this huge event. And so, of course, like here I am, right? I'm a coach. He doesn't know who I am, by the way. Like I'm just somebody who's been affected by COVID. He reached out to me. He saw something I did. So he doesn't know who I am. Not that, like, who am I? He doesn't know me, Carolyn Freyer-Jones. I'm just somebody, right? And he was like, and I just said to him, I was just like, you have to tell me. You're going from one lucrative thing, like running like a program against gun violence, and now you're taking on a new program called COVID for Change. Do you actually, where do you live? Like, are you living out of a box? Do you actually, how does your life work? And he just laughed and laughed. And he was like, actually, I've done okay. I'm married. I have 2 kids. We own an apartment. And he's like, and this is the work like I've always wanted to do. And I was like, that's amazing, right? Like, I just was curious. And that's all it takes. So for anybody out there that's like, ooh, but I feel weird. It's like, we have to be willing to tolerate the discomfort. This is a big key. Tolerating the discomfort of connecting. And just in a way, it's like ignoring that. It's like, I want to connect. That's all our job is connecting, listening, slowing down with people. So many people, and I'm sure you know them, and I've done this. I've raced by someone in my life thinking like, oh, I need to talk to a bunch of people. And there's this one person that sent me an email about something, and I'm like, oh, but not them. Like, oh no. So I'm going to challenge you. This is going to be something else. So you're going to write it down right now, and then we're going to open it up. It's like, I want you to write down, like, who are 2 people I know that I've never considered connecting more with? I've never considered it. And by that, I mean, like, Steve Chandler tells a funny story about Steve Hardison, who was his coach, about like a plumber that came to Steve Hardison's house, right? Like to fix something. And Steve Hardison, who just embodies this, was like, oh, tell me about you and blah, blah, blah. And like was really curious. And the plumber was like, what do you do? And Steve Hardison's like, I'm a coach. Of course, the plumber's like, what's that? Right? They talk. And the plumber says to him, I kid you not, you know what? My brother needs you. Like, my brother owns a dental business and he's really challenged. Now, if Steve Hardison had been like, oh, I gotta talk to the plumber. Like, why would I talk to my plumber? Right? If he had poo-pooed that, he never would have had someone say to him, oh my gosh, I want my brother to talk to you. And the brother came. And by the way, Steve Hardison, like everyone knows this, like he charges 150 grand for 1 year. He only takes on people for a year. It's 150 grand. And guess what? That person became his client. So, and if we're all sitting there like, oh, but I can't do that, that's a lie. I'm going to challenge you. That's a lie. Anybody can connect that way. We can learn how to do that. You already know how to do it, honestly. You can cultivate it. We can get better. We can all get better, myself included. We can all get better. So it's not, this is a profession, and the way that I teach growing a business and the way that we teach it in the school, it's kind of unfortunate, right? I wish I had something fancier to tell you. I wish I was like, here's the system, and I've got a book, and there's 8 tabs, and you're going to learn each tab, and we're going to do this. And that's not what it is. Like, when people come to the school, I'm like, tell us 5 people that you know that you would like to connect more with and coach. And they're like, really? Like, yeah. When a coach says to me that I've been coaching a while, and they're like, I don't know how to do this anymore. All my clients are gone, and I don't know how to make money. I'm like, well, so let's go back to the drawing board. Who do you know that you would like to connect with more? They're like, again with just connecting and looking in my world and slowing down. That's the beginning.
Can I come in and offer 2 things, Carolyn?
Yep. And then we'll open it up.
So I'm going to give 2 very specific things, actions that you can take, because I'm seeing like Isabel, Steph, Gabby, I love your comments in the chat. And it's true, right? We're not just out and about in the world anymore. We're not going out to social activities. We're quarantined. So it's like, oh, I love doing those things, but now I'm stuck in my house all the time. How do I meet new people? And so my first invitation would be, it doesn't have to be new people. There are people that you already know that you're not thinking about.
Exactly.
And two very specific actions that you can take is you can scour through the emails that you've received over the last 2 to 3 months. Because I guarantee you someone was reaching out, like the subtext, right? They weren't flat out saying, I'm struggling, can you help me?
No one does.
Like, right, the subtext is like, well, things are really busy. I'm trying to manage my job and virtual homeschool. And right, they're expressing what's happening, but the subtext really is, I'm challenged, or, oh my God, I just got this promotion and I've never managed a team before. I'm coming into this new organization, right? It's like, we want to start slowing down to read between the lines, because then we, through our own curiosity, can go back to them and be like, how is that going? Tell me more about that. And that can start to nourish the connection. So that's one option. The other option is your Facebook friends. See, this is one of my favorite, whenever I feel like I'm out of people, like, uh-oh, I don't know anyone anymore. Like, that's it.
There's no more human beings left.
Exactly. I will set a timer on my phone for 15 minutes and I will pull up my Facebook friends and I will just start to scroll. Now, what starts to happen, the requirement is that you can't discount anyone. Right? Because the mind will be like, oh God, that person can't afford me, or that person doesn't think of me as a coach, or that person, they would never, right? It wants to discount right from the get-go. And my commitment is, if that person is popping up, I'm going to write them down. I'm going to write their name out. It doesn't mean that I have to reach out to them, but I want to start forming a list. And then once I have the list, I can go, okay, who's the first person? Who's the easiest here out of this list for me to reach out to and be like, hey, 2020 just keeps sending out some punches. How you doing and all that? It can be that simple.
It can totally be that simple. It's like, can I say something, Amber? Are you okay? Like, I was just looking through the chat and I don't know who it is. I'm looking for the person who said, when we asked, like, have you slowed down or not? And somebody said, I have a toddler, I have another job, right? Somebody said that. Now, if I saw that and the thing I would do, like, let's say I wanted to connect with that person, I would know, like, I would just be like, how's all that going? Wow, a toddler and the pandemic and a job, how's that going? Right? Now, you may, like, that's the simplest question in the world. It's the simplest. How's that going? Right? That's it. It's just, how's that going for you? Right? Like, I want to know more, right? We have people all over Facebook who are like talking about what's happening, like how they're feeling right now, right? You have friends that are like, whether it's, this pandemic stinks, or, I'm sick, or someone I love was diagnosed, right? Like, I remember when Michelle and I were starting to be full-time, I'd left my job and I'm literally sitting at home, right? Just like this, like, oh my God, what was I thinking? I have no job. I must make money. And I literally would scroll through Facebook. And I remember I saw a woman that I knew from the University of Santa Monica, and she'd posted something, nothing major. It was like talking about some new job she was in. And inside of me, I got like, you need to reach out to her. And immediately the discounting started. Like, oh, she won't, whatever. She'll think it's weird, or I don't want to be like that. But remember, I had been being coached and I knew enough to be like, Carolyn, no, we're not going to let that part run you. And I sent her a Facebook message. I was like, hey, oh my gosh, I saw on Facebook, you're doing this now. That's amazing. And she wrote back, yeah, it is. What are you doing? And I'm like, I don't know if you know, I left USM. I'm no longer working there. I'm now doing full-time coaching. She was like, oh my God, you are? I said, yeah, I want to hear more. And then I went right back to her. I was like, I want to hear more about this thing you're doing. And we went back and forth. Like, it wasn't like we went back and forth. And then finally I said to her, if it would be helpful, come sit with me. Like, let's meet live and then we'll just talk. Like, we can just spend some time together. And she said, really? Like, we could, like, that would be amazing. And I said, yeah, it doesn't mean anything's going to happen from it. Like, I was really clear. I was like, doesn't mean anything's going to happen from it, but yeah. Now, Does that, like, show of hands, does that, like, I want to see, because I'm going to like say, who feels like they could never do that? Like, no way. I could never in a million years connect with someone in that way. Like, that's just wrong and bad and really yucky. And I could never tolerate the discomfort of that. Raise your hand if you're like, no way. Because of course I want to talk to you, but no. So no one's raising their hand. Okay. So you see, right? It's like, that's all it is. And I hear you, Emily, like I go back and forth, right? Social self will like, if we don't get a handle on our social selves, like, ooh, I feel yucky. I'm so used to being like so nice and so, oh, great. And if you have not, if you are on this call and you have not listened to the audio, professional self versus social self, I know Amy Ruby is going to come right on and be like, here it is. If you have not, you must listen to that in the next 24 hours. So really, like, that's an assignment from me to you. If you have not, and Emily, you need to listen to it again. Okay? Because we forget. Even me, like I can sometimes feel myself go into social self. Like I'm like, whoa, there she is. Okay, Carolyn, that's not, it's human, but you have to get social self handled. All right, somebody's got their mic on, so we want to close that down. Hey, Lily, I see you. All right, so let's open it up.
One
Like,
more thing that I want to add really quickly,
yeah.
Carolyn. I'm not, when I was talking earlier, I'm not saying that social media is a bad thing. Right? But learning how to utilize it to remember that that's a connection tool. It's a connection vehicle. When we get into how many likes, how many follows, see, likes and follows equal not people. Versus, oh, that one person commented about my post. That's somebody leaning in. That's somebody saying, I like what you're sharing. So that's a relationship that you can nurture. So like Isabel, with what you were saying, it's completely fine to utilize social media, in particular now that we're in this weird quarantine land, you can utilize social media as a vehicle for connecting.
Absolutely. I mean, that's what I did. In the beginning, I would scroll Facebook, and that was part of my daily time. When I was like, I don't know, like, what am I going to do today? I'd be like, go look at Facebook. And in a way, that's one of our greatest tools right now. And the key is to not let your own internal dialogue stop you from then going, I'm going to private message this person. I'm going to just say, hey, I haven't talked to you in a while. How's it going? So I want to open it up and be like, let's do some real coaching. So this is an opportunity. Anybody who's like, Carolyn, I don't know what the heck you're talking about. Like, this is ridiculous. This is like, it can't be the way you're describing it. Or you have a specific thing like, hey, I reached out to this person and it felt strange. And what do I do now? Like anything you want coaching on, or if you have like a broader question about like this, how does one go from making no money to making $100? Like there's no question that's not useful and won't be useful to everybody. So if you have a question, you can raise your hand in the way that we now all have learned how to do, our little like Zoom manual hand. All right.
Maya.
Yep. Let's go with Natasha.
Hi.
Hi.
Thanks for having me and us. I appreciate this. So mine is just a general question because I so appreciate this conversation about connecting and finding opportunities wherever we go. More recently, my friends were touring a house safely from social distance, and I was with them. And the realtor said to me, what do you do? And I said, I'm a coach. And she perked up and got really excited. This is a coach. I mean, this is a real estate agent who sells $1 million listings. To me, she's a very shiny person. I immediately had that thought of like, she doesn't need me. Like, but she was so excited at the prospect, and she was like, do you have a card? And I immediately was like, I do not have a card. My question is basically this. How does this conversation, what's the ideal in this conversation when someone's like, do you have a card? And I don't have one. Is it just, hey, do you, but let me get your email address and I'd love to reach out to you? Because that's what I'm doing.
Okay. So do I have permission, Natasha, to
Yeah, I would love, yeah.
Okay.
Yeah.
All right. Cause this is great for everybody, right? So you're walking through a house, socially distanced, and the real estate person is like, you're a coach? Like
Yeah.
you be her, you be the real estate agent. I'm going to be you.
Yeah.
Okay. So go ahead.
Oh, wow. You're a coach? Like a life coach?
Yeah. I do life coaching. I do all sorts of different kinds of coaching.
And do you have a card?
Well, can I ask you a question first?
Oh, yeah.
Tell me, like, you looked kind of like intrigued. I'm just so curious. Like, what would make you even want to, like, you asked for my card. That's so, like, you tell me more.
Yeah, I guess I'm just curious, like, how does that work? Do you have a bunch of clients? Like, what kind of life coaching do you do? Is it, I don't know. I guess I just was sort of curious to know more.
Yeah. Um, so I am happy to share more. I don't use business cards, just so you know. I've never used them. So typically when someone says to me, hey, do you have a business card? My answer is no. And usually what I do is like, either you can give me your email address and I'll send you an email so you can learn more. But like, truthfully, I, it's kind of pretty basic. It's like, I'm curious, like I want to know more about you. Like you seem like, how's business in the pandemic? Like
Yeah,
tell me about that. How's that going for you?
that's really helpful. So can I ask you about that?
Yeah.
In so I've got her email now and her email address. So in this intro email and this connection email, can I just kind of jump in there and say like, Britt, it was so great to meet you, and I would love to share more. You seemed perked up at the idea of coaching. I don't want it to sound silly. I want it to
Right.
just be more of a connection. So
Right. So this is
yeah,
great. So let me jump in because this will be good for everyone.
yeah,
So we don't ever want to talk about coaching.
right,
Because then we get into like salesy stuff, right?
right.
Never. We want to get curious about them.
Okay.
Period. So if she gave me her email, what I might do is I might go, hey, Natasha, you sent me your email. Tell me a little more about yourself. How's business right now? I want to engage in conversation.
Yeah,
Like, most coaches tend to jump to the invitation. We jump fast and we don't allow there to be sort of a nurturing of the connection.
right.
Right. And I offer to you, Natasha, see, there's no way. See, it's like if you asked her one question, like, tell me, like, I can't even imagine having to show houses in a pandemic. How's this going for you?
Yeah,
I can promise you, most people do not get asked questions about themselves nearly to the degree they want to. Even
right.
me. I'm like, why aren't more people asking me more questions about me every day? Like, please, it's like someone ask me a question. It's so meaningful, right? And don't underestimate the power of real curiosity, genuine curiosity.
Yeah,
See, and if you're genuinely curious about her and she writes back, oh my God, like it's nuts, like, or it's great. Like, I can't tell you how good business is. I just want to be like, well, that's amazing. Tell me more. Like, how's the rest of your life? Like, I want to start to create connection. See, because it's always going to be better to invite someone when there's more communication that's taken place,
sure.
right? When it's not cold.
Right.
It's not cold. Now that's different if you know someone, right? See, if I know someone who's been in my life peripherally for 5 years and I see them on Facebook talking about like, they're so frustrated with Zoom schooling, right? Like I am, because I have a 12-year-old daughter.
Right.
I might reach out to them and be like, hey, I feel you. This is a big deal. And I'd be like, we've never done this. And you could say no. So that's a key. We always give people permission to say no. Always. You can't, it is the number one thing that puts people at ease. No one does that, by the way. No one gives people permission to say no. And it's the number one thing that diffuses sales resistance that we all have. So if I say, look, I'm fine, like totally fine to say no, but if it would be helpful, why don't we get on a call? Like we haven't talked in a long time. Right? It's like we want to make up reasons to make this hard, and we want to make up reasons like it won't work. But truthfully, if we're not running the experiment of doing it, see, if you're all like, that's Carolyn, never going to work. I'm going to be like, tell me how much you've done it. Like, let's see the numbers. Show me some, because that's one of the most critical things. Just so you know, the coaches who come to the school, every month they're turning in a report where they tell us how many invitations have they made, how many connections, how many conversations are they having, you know, and for many of them, that's the number one reason they come, because they know that when things are measured, they do them. I do more stuff when it's being measured. Like that's what Steve did in the early days for Michelle and I. We sent him reports every week. And I was like, I don't want a zero. I don't want zeros on my report. I don't like zeros. So let me make some connections, right? The more we can gamify this, like be like, okay, what if, like, how can I make it fun? Like, so is this helpful, Natasha?
It's super helpful. And it does, I mean, just to echo what you're saying, it does help. I'm working with Sasha. And so when I send her these things, and I have a game to get 4 clients by the end of the year. So
Right.
I'm just like,
Yeah.
you know, it's these initial things that I'm finding that people do sometimes in connecting about, and it happens always when I bring up that I'm a coach. They're always like, really, you're a coach? That's a real thing? Always.
And you want to go right back to them.
Yeah.
We want to get the focus off of us and onto them. I do not want to be like, oh yeah, and I have 5 clients and I'm doing this and I'm doing that. Right. Unless there's one caveat there, unless I'm going to share a client story. If someone's like, oh, I'm dealing with this and this and this, and I'm like, oh, you know, that's so interesting. I have a client I'm working with right now who's dealing with the very same thing. One of the biggest things we're doing together is XYZ. But then I want to go right back to the person.
Yep.
I want to be like, how are you handling that? We want to get the focus off of us and onto them.
Mm-hmm. Because the more we know about what's happening in their world, the more we can determine if inviting them to continue to talk, you know, to have a coaching conversation is appropriate, right? If we don't have that information, then we don't know. They could be rocking it, and it's like, great, keep rocking it. There's no need to have a conversation, but until we find out more about what's happening over there on their side of the street, we're sort of left in the land of, you know, I don't know. And I want to highlight one thing. I want to slow something down. In the demo that just happened between Carolyn and Natasha, did you notice that Carolyn asked for the real estate agent's email address? She did not say, here is my email address. She got the email address from that other person. And that's really intentional. I mean, how many of you have given your email address or your business card to someone and then crickets? Nothing, nada. I'm waiting. I gave them my business card. It's been 2 days. Why aren't they writing me? They said they would. If you get their email address, you can take the lead.
And that's a big part of this business, right? Like I had to grow myself as a leader. So for those of you that are new and newer, you want to really think about this. You want to be like, okay, am I willing to grow myself as a leader as I develop myself as a professional coach? Because we are leading in our conversations. We are leading in the nurturing. We are leading when we are inviting someone to sit down. Now, I want to be clear. For some of you, that may seem like a really uncomfortable word. Like, I'm not a leader. You do not need to be an extrovert to be a leader. It's not required. You do not have to have good hair to be a leader. You don't have to have good hair to be a coach. Just look at Steve Chandler. Seriously, like really. Like there's no requirement for good hair. There's no requirement for fancy. You can be a quiet, introverted person and make really good money as a coach and help people with their lives. Okay. So like I don't like, cause there's a lot out there now, right? There's so much out there in the world of professional coaching, right? You know, you got Tony Robbins with his wraparound video jumping up and down and like, you know, and look, that can be really fun, but that's not what this business is truly about, right? I know coaches who've come to my school, coaches I've coached individually who are quiet. They are depthful. They have no presence on social media at all. And guess what? They've created really strong businesses. They are making over 100K because they've been willing to learn how to connect and do it over and over and over again. So let's hear from Josephine and then we'll go to Sarah Lane.
I'm going to hop in real quick because I think I can handle Allison Arnoff. You wrote in the comments that you don't want to, that you're getting sold to, and you don't want to feel like you have an agenda or people to feel like you have an agenda when you reach out to them. And how I would handle that is by saying the only agenda that you have is to connect.
Right.
It's not trying to get them as a client. It's really just slowing down to find out, how are you? That's the only agenda. If we start buying, if you start going ahead, and this, look, it happens. It happened for me. It happens to everyone who's newer on this path. But if you start going ahead thinking, I'm going to try to get them as a client, see, you're moving too fast. We first want to find out what's happening in their world, what's happening on their side of the street, because only that will determine if we then say, oh, would it be helpful to have a conversation?
Most of the time, and then we'll hear from you, Josephine. I want to get your question. Most of the time, coaches are in their head jumping to, I want to get this person, jumping to, how do I get a client, jumping to, oh my God, I need money. And that is it's a really natural thing to do, especially in the beginning. And it's the number one thing that will get in our way. Like anytime I was leaking money concerns, so let's just slow that down. We all leak. You're leaking all the time. I know that's like a horrible word. You're like, Carolyn, really? Could you come up? I'm going to do a whole thing. I'm going to do a whole audio about leaking. And it's going to be wildly disturbing, but it's going to be really useful. It's going to be all about the things we leak, right? The things we leak in conversations. And one of the things that we leak is our own like money, like desires and needs and neediness. And we leak self-interest. We leak self-interest. Like, oh, but do they like me? Oh, how am I coming across? Oh, how am I? And that is really like, that's one of the number one things that will get in our way, because who are we focused on then? We're focused on me, and I'm not really with the other person, right? This is a business about others. It's not about me. It's never about me, ever. Take that in. It's never about me, ever. Ever. Nobody cares other than, can we help them? That's it. All right, let's go. Josephine.
Hi. Okay, so this is piggybacking a little bit off of Natasha. And it's for me, committing the willingness to connect with people. So I wrote a few people on LinkedIn and previous colleagues, but I still had the scapegoat. Because there's this fear around, I want to talk to someone new. I do not want to talk to someone I know. I'm aware of it.
Okay.
So how I reached out to her was, hey, is there someone you know, because that's probably someone I don't know, that would benefit from a professional conversation with me? And she said, and we started to talk, what are you doing? I turned it back to her, but she wasn't as forthcoming about her because we were talking about someone else. And she says, I know someone. Why don't you send me some information, something I can direct them to, so we can learn some more, because it was kind of the brevity of it. I didn't know it was foot and mouth. I have not replied. I don't know what to send her.
Awesome.
So that's in the world right now.
All right. So do I have permission, Josephine? Can we do some work together?
Yes, please.
Okay. All right. So can we first talk about this thing where you're like, oh, no. I don't want people I know. I want new people. Yuck. Nobody I know. Can we talk about that?
Sure. It's what you said in the beginning. They won't look at me as a coach. They know me as this, right? Or they've got it together. They don't need this.
What profession are you coming out of when you say you know these people as former colleagues?
I was a sales professional, so I've worked in spirits and in tech.
Nice.
So I'm working with people in the sales realm.
And tell me, how long were you in those worlds?
12 years.
Nice. So, and you've basically discarded those people as like none of them. You're like, nope, there's not one person that I could help out of them.
So these folks are my actual colleagues. I'm not talking about the people I sold to, because that's tricky as well. They're restaurateurs. So I was looking a separate project just during COVID of how to just serve them, because they're greatly affected. But it hasn't really developed. But for this purpose, I'm talking about actual people I worked alongside with through career at different companies.
Got it. How long? When did you start coaching?
Last year.
Nice. Okay. Have you had any clients yet?
Not really. What do you mean by paid clients? Am I making?
We'll take pro bono, but then any paid.
I've had pro bono. I haven't had paid. I've bartered. I've done peer coaching. But like, that's not what I'm talking about here. Individual coaching that
All right.
people are like, I'm going to sign up and
Okay.
pay you for
All right.
this. No.
All right.
I've
So-
also went through a certification
Good.
process. So,
Okay.
you know,
Yeah, that's all good. All right. So your number one job now, Josephine, is you're going to get one of these colleagues as a client. And I don't care whether it's $100 for 2 sessions or $100 for 3 months. It doesn't matter. So that's a thing for everyone. When we're starting out, we're not going to get super caught up in fee yet. We're going to get 2 clients. I don't care if you have them pay, $50 for 3 sessions. I really don't. Money needs to be exchanged. There has to be money, no more bartering. Well, I could go on for another hour about bartering. It's not a bad thing in the beginning, but no more, okay, Josephine, here on out. So I want you to, your home assignment is going to be, you're going to make a list, and you're going to list 5 to 7 of these colleagues who you would love to coach. Not would they see me as a coach? Would they be, none of that. I saw an eye roll under the hat. I'm like, I can't, okay, there's your beautiful eyes. I'm like, oh my God, she totally just rolled her eyes. I'm good at rolling eyes. So I have a 12-year-old daughter. She's like, gets stuck up in her head. Who you'd love to coach. You're going to make a list. And then here's what you're going to do. You're going to pick 2 of those people, and you're going to craft an email to them. You're going to craft an email to them. And these are people that are still working in that world, right? Probably.
correct.
So it's like, I'm going to be you. I'm going to give you like a rough draft-ish. So I'm going to be you. I'm going to be like, okay, dear John.
Amy.
Amy.
Let's
Okay.
give her the name. Amy.
All right. So dear Amy, hey, gosh, I've been thinking about you guys so much and how it's going. I'm going to make some funny stuff up. Like, wow, I heard alcohol sales are way up during the pandemic. So is this working for you? Like, how's that going? Like, I'm just going to be real, right? You know what they're working with. You know that job. So you want to be like, hey, I've been thinking about you. What's happening there? Like, are you like, I'm curious. It can be that simple, Josephine. Like, it's a gentle, like, tell me how your life is. We haven't talked in a while. How's so-and-so? How's the new boss that was there right when I left? Like, I'm giving you ideas, right? And then I'm going to be Amy, right? So who's Amy? Is she a colleague?
She's a colleague.
She's someone you'd love to coach?
Yes. We
Okay.
had a relationship when we worked, a professional relationship, but we would do our own dinners. We usually pair with each other.
So you know a little bit about her.
I do. She's a mother. She has daughter who just graduated high school. So she's going to be kind of empty nest. She's married and she's still in sales.
Great.
Rocking
So
it.
you got a lot there. You could be like, did your daughter go to college with the pandemic? Is she stuck in your bedroom at home going to college online? Like there's a lot of questions, right? Like, fill me in. And then she's going to write back to you and be like, oh my God, Josephine, it's so fun to hear from you. Oh God, blah, 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 blah. Like, she's just going to share. And then you're going to write back to her and you're going to be like, wow, I'm so glad you're telling me all this. Tell me more. And like, you might have another question, but then you're going to come to this part and you're going to say, you know what? She's going to be like, what are you doing? And you're going to say, listen, I'm a professional. Now, no one, let me just, for everyone new, we are not using this line. I am launching a professional coaching practice. You're not going to write that.
Or I'm starting a coaching practice.
Yeah, no starting.
Starting.
No, I'm a professional coach. I'm a professional coach. And, Amy, I want to offer you something. It's so okay if you say no. Like, please, no is totally fine. But, there are people I think of from our work world who I say to myself, wow, they were amazing. And you're one of them. And I'll tell you why I thought you were amazing. You were amazing because, you're a working mom. Like, whatever you think is amazing about her, Josephine, you need to tell her. And it needs to be real. So this is a key skill that coaches often don't cultivate, acknowledging people.
Mm-hmm.
The world, everyone is so hungry for genuine acknowledgement. And we as coaches can really do that in the most, I used to write to people, Josephine, and I'd be like, Josephine, You know something, when we worked together, I will never forget when you said XYZ to me. I never forgot it. And I just want to offer you something, like, if it would serve you, like, let's get on the phone. Like, this is my gift to you. There are absolutely no strings, and it's so okay to say no. So what do you hear in that?
For me, one of the coaching skills, the feedback that I received was acknowledgement. If I really hone in on that, that would really make me a powerful coach. The powerful questions are there, but acknowledgement did come up. So there's no coincidence, right? And when you said that, sometimes it's hard for me to do that. And then I said, yeah, but I genuinely like all these things about her. Why keep it to myself? So that was a good way for me to remember to do that, because I do know these things about her and I would like to hear it.
Yeah, well, I have a question. This is more like coming to you. Like, how do you do on your own self-acknowledgement?
Actually, I like praise. I get into this with my partner. He's like, you're a millennial, everyone's special. You guys, this.
That's not what I mean, no.
But I don't praise myself, I think, until, I set some high goals for myself.
Oh, so you have to earn it.
I have to earn it. And I may be like that with others, or I don't know if I'm withholding it because I don't know you well enough to give you that praise, or I don't know your story yet.
So may I offer you something?
Sorry?
Can I offer you something?
Please.
So it's an interesting idea, right? For everyone. Oh, well, and you're not alone, Josephine, like this idea, right? Many of us have been raised with like, oh, no. Like, you have to accomplish things to get praise. You have to do things, right? That like acknowledgement does not come without external achievement. And I want to be a voice for not only that this is an opportunity for us to do with ourselves, this is a real opportunity as a coach. Like, one of the things I do when I work both with coaches and non-coaches is like this idea that, like, I can acknowledge myself just for my way of being. Hey, I got up today. Oh, Carolyn, you're amazing. Like, oh, how you doing? Like, and I mean that. Like, I'm not kidding. Michelle used to laugh. She'd be like, oh, Michelle, look at you. Look how you did today. Good for you. I want to offer to you, Josephine, like, there's an opportunity. Like, look, you left a career and you got a certificate. You're starting your business as a coach. Have you acknowledged yourself for all that?
Absolutely not. The acknowledgement was for the paid clients.
Oh.
And then I started a business as a coach. So I put that goalpost, I'm not there.
Okay.
So
can I challenge you right now?
Yeah.
Like, are you willing to acknowledge yourself in this moment right now with me and with us, to be like, because I acknowledge you. I'm like, it's a really amazing thing when someone leaves a profession to become a coach. So just so everyone knows, I am not one of these people who's like, more people, like, really more coaches. Who needs more coaches? I am like, Josephine, I am so glad you decided to leave what you were doing and come into this profession. There are infinite clients. There are infinite people to serve. So I acknowledge you for daring to answer your own call and be like, I have gifts to share. I have people to serve. But are you willing to acknowledge that? Do you, like, because waiting for a paid client for acknowledgement is, that's like a real setup.
Mm.
Can you hear that?
Mm-hmm. I do truly believe, I don't need to say it until I believe it. I do believe I have gifts and people to serve.
So are you willing, like, let me give you some language because it might be helpful. Like, are you, like, when I say acknowledge yourself, I mean, literally, like, I acknowledge myself for being willing to leave my former profession and do all the work to now be starting to really, like, start my business. I did a lot to get here. And I acknowledge that. I acknowledge the courage and the strength of heart, and I acknowledge my intention, and I acknowledge myself for being on this call.
This is difficult for me because I don't believe that I've worked hard enough or done enough yet.
Oh,
There's more. There's people that I'm scared to talk to. I've got to, in my mind, like,
right.
no,
So stay
not,
with me.
I'm not
Stay-
doing it.
Can you stay with me right now?
Okay.
So I'm going to offer you something that this is getting in your way. Are you willing to consider that?
Yes.
See, it's like I hear a judgment. I don't know if you hear it. I hear a judgment of, oh, like it's not good enough yet.
That's spot on. That's spot on. That's it. There's some external stuff. I have a partner, I have a child, you know, in my household. So it's not quite good enough in that lens. The mission is good enough. What I want to do, the people I can serve, that's good enough. So, but if it's not working out,
So I'm going to challenge you here. This is really important. Like, see, and everyone to really notice this, right? So here you are, Josephine, like there's requirements, like in a way, when we're judging ourselves for it's not good enough yet, or there's a yet, like I haven't done enough yet. This hasn't happened yet. It's like, it's really hard to get full cooperation because we're not acknowledging the effort. I'm a fan of acknowledging effort, of acknowledging willingness, because we do better when we acknowledge baby steps, Josephine. We do better when we, like, how old's your child?
she'll be 4.
Okay. So when she started to walk, were you like, listen, I'm not going to say one thing to you until you can walk all the way around the block. Until then, I got nothing for you. Nothing. Because so what? You took a step. A step is nothing.
No, I praised her big time.
And tell us what that sounded like. So when she started to take those little steps before she wobbled and fell over, what would you say?
There she is. Yeah, I clapped. Said, there she is.
So can you say that for yourself right now?
Okay. There she is. I'm showing up. And I need to acknowledge that. I can do that.
All the baby steps, Josephine. This is a series of hundreds and hundreds of baby steps. And I'm not going to allow you to be like, well, no, those don't really matter until I like get a client. It's like, no. That's not how we, that's not, first of all, like you're going to have clients and you're going to be like, no praise until you do X, Y, Z. And it's like, you won't do that. I bet you'll be like, oh my gosh, look at you. There you are. So can I give you a home assignment?
Yes.
Okay. Besides, you need to craft an email, right? 2 people and start to reach out to them. The home assignment is every day for 14 days, 2 weeks. And then you're going to email me. I want like self-acknowledgement. I acknowledge myself. And it can be anything. I acknowledge myself that I got up and looked at Facebook for 20 minutes. And that's for all of you. You start looking at Facebook for 20 minutes. It's like you want to really start to get like, wow, I'm going to grow my acknowledgement skills for myself. And that's going to translate to the people I serve. And Josephine, I'll take it one step further. You have to email me your self-acknowledgement every day.
Oh, okay.
Are you willing?
That's a step further. I'm committed. I'll do it.
All right. Do you have my email?
Yeah.
Carolyn, yeah, Amy will put it in the chat for you and email me every day. And I acknowledge myself, or the way I like to language it is one thing I acknowledge about me is one thing. And I want, when you get stuck, you want to think about your daughter. You want to be like, now, wait a second.
There's something there. I acknowledge that fully. It's just bringing that into the business.
Yeah.
Because I know I'm doing, I acknowledge it. It is hard work. It is beautiful. And it's moment to moment. And I don't want to miss any of it.
Yeah.
So I'm very present in that. So I know it's possible. And I see where it's not occurring in this other area.
See, it's really hard to get ourselves to do stuff when we're not acknowledging the baby steps. Like, I don't want to do stuff if that part of me is like, you didn't do enough, you need to do more, and I'm not gonna, It's like, I don't do well. I do much better when I'm like, hey, you walked today. Now I have a part of me too, Josephine, that's like, well, come on, it wasn't a CrossFit workout. What's like, that's nothing. And I'm like, no, no, no. Hey, given what I'm working with, you go, Carolyn. There I am. Yay, me. Right. I really want you to consider your self-talk. Like if you're talking to yourself in a way that's harsh and that has like all these requirements, that's worth considering, Josephine, because look, this business is it's not for the faint of heart. Like I love it and it's very doable, but it's not helpful if we're constantly like, no, you didn't get a paid client yet. Nope, no acknowledgement for you.
I withhold the reward.
And are you willing to come up with 2 people to like go, okay, I'm going to start engaging with those colleagues and not try to get to new people. New people are harder. By the way, everyone's like, oh, I want new people. You actually, your clients are all there waiting for you and they're people you already know. They're not, Josephine, oh, hey. I love it.
I'm gonna take that piece of orange for a second.
No, thank you.
I'm gonna give it to you.
So-
Giving everything that I'm working with. I'm doing.
Agree. You are rocking it. Seriously. But do you hear me? Like you got to start engaging with the people you know. It's not from new people you don't know.
Right. Question on cleaning up with Amy because she's in limbo.
Oh, good.
Oh, give me some more information.
All right. So write back to her and be like, you know what? Before I give you more information, gosh, I'm so sorry. I didn't even say to you, how are you doing? How are you doing? And you can say, I'll give you information, but I really, wow, I owe you an apology. I'm so sorry. How are you? What's happening for you? I like to call this sort of getting slight amnesia. Like I kind of am like, oh, that other communication never really happened. I'm just going to pretend. Now, when you say you don't know what to send her, is that because do you not have a website or anything yet?
This
It's
was
fine
another.
if you don't.
This was another situation, but I was kind of told that I wasn't putting my best foot forward with my website in LinkedIn. So I'm redoing all of it. And so that was another thing. Like, I don't want to send her to just this landing page. So it'll be done in maybe a week and a half. I just finished the copy for it.
So just start to get into her world. Like, Amy, I'll send you something. I'm working on something. But before I do that, I'm working on something. But before I do that, I want to talk. How are you doing?
Doable.
Doable. Right. See, it's called do the doable. Get really human, get really real.
Clearly you're good at it, Joe, because you've done it in front of all these people today. You've really shown up and served. I acknowledge you for that. You didn't withhold here.
And I felt the constriction. I said, oh, this is really coaching right now. But thank you so much.
Oh, Josephine, it's so great to have you. So my email is in the chat. So I'm going to get my first email from you tomorrow, right?
With how I acknowledge myself.
And the way you're going to language is, you can, Carolyn, I'm from, it's on the web. So one thing I acknowledge about myself is, and there's going to be no justification. You're not going to be like, well, I would normally have a much better acknowledgement.
Let's do it.
I want you to think of your daughter, okay? Who's adorable, by the way. Like, she can be on our webinars any single time she wants to be, just so you know.
With a Zoom class, she's like,
Totally.
Zoom class too?
Totally. Exactly. Totally. All right. All right. So let's hear, I see Sarah Lane.
Hello.
Hey.
Hi, good to see you. Thank you so much for hosting this. This has been so helpful so far.
Good.
I remember you from a couple webinars ago, Sarah. Are you still in California?
I am. I just moved to San Diego down from LA though. So
nice. What's happening?
So I have tried a lot of, I hate that word too, try. I've done a lot of these connection and reaching out and having discovery calls and going through my old lists and Facebook friends and all these people. And I find that people, like maybe people are just thinking that I'm being friendly, or that when I reach out to people and set up conversations, it's like it doesn't really go anywhere else from there, or I end up like coaching a lot for free and then I don't get paid for it. And then I'm also kind of scattering my energy and talking to a lot of people, but then it's like I'm constantly DMing people, I'm constantly emailing. Like I feel like I'm always talking to people, but not actually getting results or making a sale or like, and I don't know what I'm doing wrong.
Okay. I love that. I appreciate that, because that's kind of a different issue, right? I love that. It's a really different thing, right? So what I hear you're doing is you're doing a lot of like, and what are those, like, give me an example of like a way you might connect with someone, Sarah, just like what would that look like?
So like if someone comments on a post, or they'll DM me like for a story that I posted, they'll say like, oh, this really resonated with me. And I'll say, you know, oh, what resonated with you, or how did that help you? And just start conversations. And then, you know, I'll invite them to workshops and events that I do that are also free. So I just feel like I'm giving a lot of myself and not really getting the results or seeing any return.
So I have a sense, and Amber may have more to share here. I have a sense that there's something happening, Sarah, in the connecting that is getting missed. And I don't mean that like in a critical way. I mean like, so you have, what's great, I want to really acknowledge you. If you have people who are engaging with what you say, right? Like they're like, oh, I love that post, or they commented that, number one, that's great. So when someone does that and you go, tell me what resonated for you, and they answer you, do they answer?
Yeah.
Okay. And they go, well, I loved what would, like, give me an example. How might they respond?
So for example, someone reached out saying that they resonated with my story around like how I overcame a lot of physical issues with my menstrual cycle, and that was tied into a lot of emotional health as well. So we like got to talking, and then I sent her a few voice notes, and I was just asking her about her and her life, and then she just stopped responding.
So she went dark.
Yeah.
Okay.
And then sometimes I'm like, am I prying too much? Am I asking? Because I like to go in deep with people. So maybe I could be scaring people away that way, or.
You might be. It may be too much too soon.
Okay.
That's what my sense is. And Amber can ask, she may have a question for you or a thought on this, because, you know, look, it's like we have, you know, I'm thinking of Amber, like I'm thinking of Morgan, right? Like who like is a coach who just did our school. She's coming back, and she has like a lot of people in her community, and she does all sorts of stuff related to like body and self-care and those kinds of things. And I think, Sarah, one of the things I would suggest as a baby step is to be like, go a little slower. So someone's like, oh, I loved your post about menstrual cycles and how you did that. And I want to be really gentle. I want to be like, oh, wow, that's amazing. Tell me, was there something specific? Like one question, not more than one. Like my guess is you're like boom, 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 boom. And here's my
And
voice
I'm like,
text.
here's this book, and here's this resource, and here, okay, yeah.
Really dial it back. One.
Think of this process of coaching like dating. Like you're acting as if you're the person that's like so excited to be on the date. Like, I know you. I've got so much in store for you. Inside,
Oh
like,
my God.
I gotta go. It's too much.
Too much.
Yes. Wow. That's totally been my energy. It's like when you're asking someone about like how many kids they want to have on the first date.
Exactly.
Right. And they're like, I'm terrified now. I'm terrified. Right. So Sarah, you have like this beautiful energy, right? You have beautiful energy. So you just want to pull it back, right? Like I want to meet people where they are. So like I'm someone who like I can be very enthusiastic, and I've learned how to modulate it because I don't want to freak people out. right? Like I'll tell you guys a story. So I'm here with my mom. She had a televisit with a doctor and I gave her a forecast. Mom, I'm going to ask your doctor a lot of questions, more than you prefer, and I'm probably going to irritate you. So just get ready. Get ready. Because see, I'm in myself. I don't care if I irritate the doctor because I'm not in my social self. I'm not like, ooh, I don't want her to not like me. I don't care if my mom's doctor doesn't like me. I'm advocating for my mom, right? But when I'm with someone where I'm in your situation, I'm not like going full guns blazing, right? I'm like, Sarah, tell me a little, like, I'm curious, like, what's one thing? And I don't overwhelm people. People can feel like too many questions feels overwhelming.
Yeah. Yeah, I can feel that.
Or now, are you willing to dial it back? So this is going to be a muscle, Sarah. You've gotten really good at being like, boom, 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 boom. And it's going to feel uncomfortable to be like, tiny, one question. Are you willing?
I'm so willing. Yes.
And for some of you, like here's Sarah, right? Like she's like, full guns blazing. And some of you, like, you're not like, you're like silent. You're like, there's nothing, right? So remember, everyone's in a different place, right? Some of you are like, ooh, I don't want them to feel like I'm asking too much, and you haven't asked anything, right? You're in social self. Like you're like, ooh, I don't want to bother them, right? I had a coach write to me the other day. They were doing something and they were like, this was their line: I don't want to inundate people. Now, this is a coach that I'm coaching privately. So, she probably regrets writing that to me, because what I did is I wrote back and I took the sentence, I don't want to inundate people, and I bolded it and I made it big. And I wrote back and I wrote, you wrote, I don't want to inundate people. And I wrote, so that is social self, right? Like that's like, oh, I'm like, the world needs us now, right? The world needs us now. You being concerned about inundating people is not helpful right now, right? Like, you're not selling like a supplement, you're like, this person is having conversations with people about having like walked through COVID, right? Like that's huge. It's like, we need to be willing. Now for you, Sarah, I'd be like, no, you might be inundating people. So you need to go the other way. But for other people, particularly new, we tend to be like, ooh, I don't want to, ooh, I'm afraid. I don't want them, right? We're in like, Steve Chandler used to say to Michelle and I, what are you, like, are we in 7th grade again? Like you're worried about people liking you? Like that's how you're responding right now. So do you see the difference, everybody? Like we got to really look at, where am I inside? Am I in social self? Am I in like, I'm wanting to engage too much, and maybe for them it's uncomfortable? And here's the thing, right? So if you haven't taken it away yet, I want you all to be like, all right, like I got to look at my calendar. Like, am I sitting in discomfort on Facebook for at least minimum 20 minutes a day? And am I looking at my world? And am I like, oh my gosh, so-and-so just posted about like the fires and the air affecting them. And you could just write to them private message, like, are you okay? Like, how's that going? Right? Like I saw someone post this morning about like, just like how upsetting it was for them to see the air quality, the numbers. Now, if I wanted that person as a client, I would be writing to them being like, I saw your post. I'd private message them and I'd be like, how, like, I get it. Like, how's that going? Doesn't have to be fancy. And the other piece, like, right, remember, let's get back to work. So here we are, got a couple minutes left. Your takeaway needs to be, I need to be reaching out to people, connecting. If you're not communicating with people, either via private message or via email or in some other way, if you're like, Carolyn, if you looked at how I communicated this week, you would see nothing. That won't grow your business, right? And then Sarah, you're going to dial it back a different way. Right? We don't want to be like, we want to be like, whoa, I got this really beautiful, precious message from someone who said they really liked my post. I'm going to slow down just with that person and be like, tell me a little more. Amber, what do you want to say? Anything else you want to talk about?
I mean, what was present right now, I was thinking about Sarah. My sense, Sarah, is that you're forgetting, like, you're the juice, not the resources, not the quest, like you. Like, I feel like coaching in general, it's easy for us to hide behind someone else's expertise. And really, the magic of coaching is what happens in the conversation, right? It's the container, the loving container, the non-judgmental container, the accepting container that we create to be with someone else that allows them to open to that more inside of them, right? Don't forget that you are that, and that you bring that. And really, we are withholding that by not reaching out to people. We're withholding our gifts. We're sort of like, if you're a spiritual person, we're sort of like, God, never mind. I know you gave me this great gift of empathy and loving and presence and listening, but I can't do that right now because I've got to make my website pretty, and then I'll. So
It's really what Amber's saying for everyone, and Michelle used to say this to coaches. Our job is to become a trusted source of transformation for people. That's our job, to become a trusted source of transformation for people. Now, that is through who we're being in the world, right? Who we're being. That is through the resources and things that we share in service. But first and foremost, it's who we're being. It's who we're being, right? And do you see what Sarah said? So that was great, right? We don't want to we don't want to we are the container. That's what we provide. And don't underestimate that. Don't underestimate your ability to create a space where someone can just be listened to.
And I'll also tag on to that a little bit. Remember when Carolyn was coaching Joe, and Joe was saying, like, I'd rather work with a stranger than someone who I know, which I lived that and I walked that, and I totally get that. And the people that we already have established relationships with, even if it's not someone that we know deeply, there can already be a trust. There's already a familiarity, and that can be an asset to the container. Like, we might be the absolute best person to coach someone because of how we know them.
That's right. And just to answer your question, Linnell, I don't know that I would coach a friend. It depends on the friendship. I mean, I've coached people who kind of thought they were my friend, but I wouldn't call them my inner circle. So it depends. That's a kind of tricky question. And I don't usually recommend it, but if they're not a close friend, they're a possibility. They're definitely a possibility.
Michelle used to say there are 5 people in my life that I would never want as a client, and those people can have whatever version of me they want, because I want them as my friend. Like, I want to be vulnerable. I want to be, because the thing is, if you take on a friend, a good friend as a client, it's not impossible. It can be done, but the dynamic of the friendship changes while you're working together with them as a coach. There's got to be a level of maturity that comes with that. But so going back to Michelle, she would say, these 5 people get whatever version of me they want. Everyone else can pay for it.
Yep. And Michelle was one of the most loving, warm, generous people. And she really practiced that, right? She used to call herself the golden retriever of coaching. And she had to really pull back from that, right? Because that wasn't helpful, right? Golden retrievers are really cute, but they can be overwhelming, as we all know. So I want to say something because we're coming to the end. So look, for some of you, you may be like, I got my next steps. I am all good. And we want that. Bravo. Go and experiment. Go get messy. Go pick some people. Make a list. 5 people you'd love to coach who you already know, not celebrities, not like 2 people away from you. People you already know from your old professional life, from another community. Start slowing yourself down on that. And some of you may be like, I'm still a little like, what? Some of you already are here because you've already decided that you are coming to the 2021 CFJ Coaching Success School. So it's so fun to see you here. Like I said, the Facebook page just opened. John Trethaway, Lisa Husseini. We got a bunch of you already here. It's fabulous. And some of you are like, I don't know what I'm doing. I don't know. if you want to have a conversation about the school, Amber and I are going to make ourselves available. So like, if that's something you're like, well, I want to know what those people do, because we're excited. I mean, like the coaches who did the last one, the 2020, like the pandemic, they were terrified. And they all, by the end, were like, oh my God, I've made more money than I've ever made in my practice. And that's new coaches and middle of the road coaches. And if you want a conversation, I want you to know we're going to share a resource that we use in the coaching school that one coach who I love, who's coming back this year, was like, this was gold, paper gold, this one thing. And she got a hold of it because her husband shared it with her before she came to the school. It's about invitations. It's like what we're talking about. She made, without even coming to the school yet, she made $40,000 in new clients from using the invitation process that I've written about and that Amber talks about and that we talk about a lot. So we're not people who are like, we're going to keep all that and you don't get it. You want to have a conversation and you want to talk about it and you want that, we're going to give it to you, right? Because that's the Steve Chandler model. We give stuff away. We want to serve you. So if you want that, email me and we'll set up a conversation. And it's totally fine if you got everything you needed today. 100%. So thank you for coming. Like, wow, good for you for showing up and making time for yourself. I'm going to acknowledge you. So for those of you that are a little slim on your self-acknowledgement, take this in. Like, you showed up today. Like, good for you. I invite you to acknowledge that. I invite you to take one baby step that we talked about in the next 24 hours. Because when we take action quickly after learning something, it gets more real. It gets into our system. So do something with what we talked about today. Okay? So do something. Don't just like take it in, actually put it into practice. So bravo all to you. We will send a recording. Amy and Amber, thank you so much for being here. Amber, do you want to say anything?
I just celebrate all of you. You spent 90 minutes focused on your business today, focused on your professional growth. What could be better?
That's right. All right. So you'll get your recording. Send me an email if you want to talk. And if you don't, like, go get those, start writing your list, get into consistent participation every single day. I'm rooting for you. I am rooting for all of us. There are infinite clients. Remember that. Infinite for all of us. Take care.
Bye.
Bye.
It looks like Amy left.
Oh, she did? Maybe you and I can talk.
Can you stop the recording?